Hi and welcome back. I recently made a video on an amazing compound called sulforaphane. If you have not seen that video, I will link it down below. Make sure to check it out because I talk in detail about what sulforaphane is and its incredible benefits. But in a nutshell, sulforaphane is a phytochemical or phytonutrient, which is a fancy term for a nutrient found in plants. It has shown to have incredible antioxidant as well as anti-inflammatory properties. And in studies, sulforaphane has shown to not only help protect our heart as well as our brain and keep both healthy as we age, but sulforaphane has also shown to help neutralize benzene found in air pollution, which is great news for those of us living in polluted cities. On top of that, sulforaphane has shown to be very helpful in the treatment of chronic inflammatory conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis. And sulforaphane has shown great potential as a chemopreventative. Now, doing all this research on sulforaphane convinced me that I needed this amazing compound in my diet. And one of the best ways to get sulforaphane in our diet, aside from of course taking a supplement, is eating broccoli sprouts. Because broccoli sprouts contain the highest concentration of glucoraphanin, which is the precursor to sulforaphane. Now, in my video, I talked about how I had been a bit in a rush to get sulforaphane into my diet because I was trying to treat an inflammatory condition I had developed. And I had heard that sprouting your own broccoli sprouts was complicated, time-consuming and somewhat frustrating, so I jumped right to taking a supplement. However, under my video, so many of you told me that you sprout your own broccoli sprouts and you gave me some incredible tips and tricks. So I have been sprouting my own broccoli sprouts ever since, and today I want to share with you all the tips and tricks I learned from you and how I sprout my own broccoli sprouts. So first I have some mason jars right here. Now I purchased these in a set, so it came with 2 of these. It also came with these lids and then a tray and some stands to put the mason jars on. But you can just use regular mason jars and then have them rest in a Tupper container. Then of course we need our seeds. So I have some organic broccoli seeds right here. And many of you told me to make sure that first of all they are organic and that they are sprouting seeds. So I purchased these at our local health food store, but you can also find these on Amazon and I will link them down below. Then I also have really been enjoying sprouting some lentil sprouts. So these are green lentils, and once sprouted, they are delicious and they add some extra protein to whatever I decide to put them on. So today I'm going to be sprouting the broccoli sprouts as well as the lentil sprouts. But I also have been enjoying this mix right here. So this is 3 different seeds. This is alfalfa, radish, and broccoli. And the radish just gives it a nice bite and gives it a nice flavor. So like I said, I will link all of these down below. But today, as I mentioned, we're going to be sprouting lentils as well as broccoli seeds. So let's start with the broccoli sprouts. I like to use 3 tablespoons of sprouts per mason jar. Now I have heard everything from 2 to 7 tablespoons, but 3 tablespoons seems to be perfect for me at least. So I'm going to take 3 tablespoons of these seeds. Now while this does not look like much, once they are sprouted, the whole glass will be full of sprouts. So I'm also going to do my lentil seeds. And for the lentils, I use 4 tablespoons. I was using 3 tablespoons at first, but I had plenty of room left in the jar. So now I use 4 tablespoons. And when I use this sprouting mix, again, this is alfalfa, radish, and broccoli seeds. So when I use this sprouting mix, I also use 3 tablespoons. And once sprouted, again, it will fill up the whole glass. Next, I use some apple cider vinegar. This is a tip I got from one of you. And the apple cider vinegar is to get rid of any possible mold on the seeds. Now, instead of apple cider vinegar, you could also use some soap or bleach. So I'm going to use 2 tablespoons, a little bit messy, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar for each of these. And don't worry, once these are sprouted, they do not taste like apple cider vinegar. We're only going to let them sit in the apple cider vinegar for about 15 minutes, and then we will rinse them really well. Then I'm going to add some filtered water. Now, I have tried this with hot water, thinking it would be even better to get rid of any potential mold, but using the hot water actually prevented my seeds from sprouting. So no hot water, just room temperature water. And then I close these up and I will let them sit for about 15 minutes and then rinse them really well. So it has been about 15 minutes. I'm going to drain these now and rinse them really well. All right, they are drained and rinsed really well. I rinsed them about 9 or 10 times, and hopefully the vinegar took care of any possible mold actually on the seeds, and then we rinsed it off. Now I'm going to add some filtered water. Now, I don't know if you need to use filtered water, and to rinse them I definitely just use tap water, but I'm going to let my seeds soak now for about 8 hours. Which is why I'm using filtered water. But like I said, I don't know if you actually need filtered water. I think that tap water, especially if you have good quality water, is just fine. So now I'm going to let these sit and soak for about 8 hours. So you could easily do this overnight and just empty them out in the morning and rinse them. I like to do it early in the morning and then empty them out and rinse them in the evening. But like I said, we're going to let them sit for about 8 hours. All right, so these little guys have been soaking for about 8 hours now. I will now empty out the water and rinse them really well. So I emptied out the water and rinsed these really well. And now I'm going to put my mason jars on these little guys. And these are sort of like lounge chairs for my mason jars. So the reason for these is so that my jars rest at about a 45-degree angle. And we want them to be at about a 45-degree angle so that all the extra fluid, if there is any extra fluid, can easily run out and then be collected in the tray. Now, like I said, I bought this whole set, the mason jars, these little guys, and the tray. It all came together, and I will link it down below. I got it on Amazon, but you don't have to get this fancy. You can just have your mason jars rest in a Tupper container at about a 45-degree angle. So mold is really our biggest concern when we are sprouting, which is why we want to rinse our seeds really well and why we want to put them again at about a 45-degree angle so that all the extra water can run out. So it has been about 24 hours since we started sprouting these little guys, and you can see, especially on the lentils, you can see, well, they already have some tiny sprouts. And we'll show you the broccoli sprouts as well. So I have rinsed these 3 times already, and I will rinse them one more time. Now, while this might sound time consuming, it takes a couple seconds to rinse them. And voila, on day 4, we have our sprouts. Now, I like to sprout my sprouts for about 3.5-4 days because I do like when they have quite a bit of green. But some people like to sprout their sprouts for less time. So these are our broccoli sprouts, and look at this. This was 3 tablespoons of seeds, and this is how many sprouts we got. And then here are the lentil sprouts. Again, I like when mine have a bit of green, but you can sprout yours for less time if you want to. Now, to store my sprouts, I like to put them in a Tupper container with a paper towel on the bottom. And then I just empty them in here. and I usually eat my sprouts within a couple of days. Now, would I not eat these within a few days, then I could freeze them. And actually freezing them increases the sulforaphane content. However, if you freeze your sprouts, you want to make sure to consume them frozen, because once you defrost them, you will lose a lot of the sulforaphane content. And now I will just cover them up and then, as I mentioned, store them in the fridge for a few days. My husband likes these. He eats a whole bowl full of these in one sitting, so they will be gone in a couple of days. But again, if I wanted to keep them longer, I could freeze them. And then I will of course do the same thing with my broccoli sprouts. I'm going to have some of these for lunch today. And I think I'm going to need 2 containers. It is incredible how many sprouts we get out of 3 tablespoons. So this is just superfood. And there is not really a recommended daily allowance for sulforaphane, but studies have shown that eating about a half a cup of broccoli sprouts is a great amount to get the health benefits promised in the studies. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for all your tips and tricks. You were so encouraging, and without you, I would have never started sprouting my own sprouts, but I have been having so much fun with it. So thank you again. Any more tips and tricks, please leave them down below. Of course, any questions or comments, leave them down below. You know, I always love to hear from you. And that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, bye.